What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video we're going to be comparing the cameras of the Google Nexus 6P to the iPhone 6s. Now we'll be looking at both the front and rear facing cameras and images as well as video too. Do also look out for the audio icon in the corner of the screen, and that will indicate to you which device the audio is coming from too. And we'll be switching between these two throughout this video so you can get a better idea of the differences in audio too. So we're currently in good lighting in my car, so outdoor lighting, and we are using the front facing cameras of both devices, and we'll be heading outside and doing some rear facing camera tests, and then we'll be doing some indoor low light tests too. So do hit that thumbs up button and let's get straight to it. So now we're outdoors with both devices testing out the rear facing cameras, and we are filming at 4K, so full 4K. Now, although this video is exported out at 1080p, this does mean that we can crop in and get much more detail. So let's just take a bit of a walk and see what the stabilization is like on both devices. So now we're indoors with the Nexus 6P, just testing out the autofocus, so going from something that's further away to something that's close. Seems to be doing really well. Now exactly the same lighting with the iPhone 6s, and once again just testing the autofocus, going from something that's far to something that's near. Seems to also be doing pretty well. Now before moving on to the images, just a quick disclaimer that everything that was shot on these devices was at full resolution, so that's 12.3 megapixels on the Nexus 6P and 12 megapixels on the iPhone 6s from the rear facing cameras, and 8 megapixels from the front facing camera of the 6P and 5 megapixels from the front facing camera of the 6s. Now in case you're wondering how I've customized the look of my Nexus 6P on the iPhone 6s, that's with some slick wrap skins, so a very inexpensive way to customize the look of your devices, and I'll leave a link to slick wraps in the description below if you want to go ahead and pick some of these up for yourself. So getting straight onto the images, we're going to start off with some selfies from the front facing cameras. Here you can see that the Nexus 6P hands down is doing a better job. You've got much better dynamic range. The iPhone 6s is blowing out the highlights quite a bit, so that is not too good. And you can see here that the 6P also has a bit of a wider angle lens. Now let's go in 100%, and this just emphasizes that detail that you've got on the 8 megapixel sensor of the 6P. So for the front facing camera in good light, the edge would definitely have to go to the 6P. Now let's move into low light. So here once again you can see that the 6P does have a lot more detail. Now the 6s is doing a decent job, but there's definitely some processing going on here, and it looks a little bit brighter as well, but I do prefer the 6P here because of the detail. Now the iPhone 6s does have a front facing flash. Now this isn't a traditional flash, but this illuminates the front screen to give you some more light. And here you can see that it is giving more of a brighter image on the face, but you still don't have as much detail. So if we go in 100%, you can see that the detail, especially in my beard area, have been maintained a lot more on the Nexus 6P. So I personally do prefer the 6P here. Now moving on to an outdoor image in good light, I think both are doing a good job here. You've got differences in color. The Nexus 6P seems to be a little bit more on the vibrant side. That will come down to your personal preference. I think both are doing good here. Let's go in 100%. And here you can see that the 6P has pinpointed the focus. I think because of the laser autofocus, has pinpointed the focus a little bit better. And you are getting some more detail on those leaves compared to the iPhone 6s. For this one, I would give the edge to the 6P. Now moving on to an outdoor wide image, I think both are doing decent here, but I would give the edge to the 6s here because of better dynamic range. Now if you look towards the monument area, you can see that the 6P is blowing out those highlights in the sky, whereas the iPhone 6s has definitely maintained those better. So I would give the edge here to the iPhone 6s. Now moving on to an indoor image in relatively low light, I think both are doing decent here. The 6P seems to be a little bit brighter, but the colors are better maintained than the 6s, so I'd call this one a little bit of a draw. Now let's dip the light down even further, and here you can see that the 6P is definitely shining here. You've got much better detail, and the colors are definitely a lot better as well. well. You've not got as much noise as you have with the 6S. Now let's go in 100%. Now this just emphasizes the quality of the 6P when it comes to low light, and it's definitely doing much better here, both in terms of the colors and the details. Although both are definitely losing detail at this low light, but the 6P is doing so much better. I mean, look at the noise levels on the 6S. Now, just to take the low light test even further, I took them both outdoors, and here you can see that once again the 6P is doing a lot better here compared to the iPhone 6S. So for low light, the edge would definitely have to go to the 6P. Now, using the flash on both devices, I think the 6S has washed it out a little bit, but it is definitely brighter compared to the 6P, which is a little bit on the dull side, and the colors are a bit too warm. So I would call this one a bit of a draw really, because I don't really like either of the images. So there we have it, the detailed super SAF style camera comparison between the Nexus 6P and the iPhone 6S. I think overall both performed very well and are both very capable cameras, some of the best that you can find out there. In terms of the front facing camera, the Nexus 6P wins hands down in my opinion. You've got so much more detail because of that 8 megapixel sensor and also a better dynamic range. Now for video, I would give the edge to the iPhone 6S. It's got much more stable footage. Even though both of these don't have optical image stabilization, the digital image stabilization works so much better on the iPhone 6S. And you've also got better dynamic range. Now if you look towards the clouds, you are blowing out those highlights quite a bit on the Nexus 6P, whereas the iPhone 6S was maintaining those a lot better. Now for images in good light, I would call it a bit of a draw. Some I liked on the Nexus 6P, some I liked on the iPhone 6S, but in low light the 6P definitely gets the edge with much brighter images that have a lot less noise. Now for slow motion, I only did a very quick test, but I think both did really well, although I did prefer the colors slightly better on the Nexus 6P. Now for the audio, it was difficult to tell. I think, in my opinion, the 6S was ever so slightly better, but I'll let you guys go back and decide for yourself which you like the audio of better. That's what I think anyway. What do you think? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. If you want to see more images from lots of different devices, then do go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram. I'm at SuperSafTV, and I post lots of images from the devices that I'm testing on a day-to-day basis. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. And if you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe. I've got plenty more content coming up on here. You can also see my previous related video here in the annotations. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSafTV, and I'll see you next time.